What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nasher. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode, as you guys can tell by the title of the video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of the upcoming structure deck Force of the Traptrix, which I believe that is what Konami what Konami will be sticking with as far as the name goes. And the question becomes: do we even need the Traptrix structure deck? Now, I believe this was a part of one of the different structure deck polls that we got that Konami was doing in the OCG a couple years ago. I think like right around the time that the COVID-19 pandemic started. So, and I believe Traptrix was like one of the runner-ups. So, if you guys don't know anything about the Traptrix archetype, each of the main deck monsters has the same effect. Where it reads, this card is unaffected by the effects of whole normal trap cards. So cards such as Bottomless Trap Hole, Traptrix, Trap Hole Nightmare, Trap Hole. Those cards cannot affect any of the Traptrix cards. The only I think the only cards that are not affected are the extra deck monsters, I believe. Yeah, I believe the extra deck monsters have different effects. Yeah, I think So the two Xyz monsters have the same effect where it reads that where it reads this card is unaffected by trap cards while it has Xyz material. The Link monsters have the same effect where it reads this Link summon card is unaffected by trap effects. So they're about the same, but if you look at each of the different Traptrix monsters, you will know that each of them has their own different effect. Starting obviously with Traptrix Atrax, it reads you can activate whole normal traps from your hand. The activation and effects of normal trap cards activated on your side of the field cannot be negated. So cards such as Solemn Judgment, Cosmic Cyclone, nothing can stop normal trap effects being activated. So in a scenario where your opponent does have a pretty good amount of negation on board, not even that negation would be able to stop your normal traps from being triggered. So you can activate as many normal traps as you want. Even a fucking Mirror Force could work under Atrax, which is hilarious. Dianea has a rather interesting effect where it reads when this card is normal summon, meaning it will miss timing. That's one of the biggest downsides of those types of effects, where it says when. Usually cards like those will miss timing, and that's one of the biggest problems that most Yu-Gi-Oh players will have is they'll have cards where it says when this card is activated or when this card is summoned, by however, normal, special, tribute, whatever, it's gonna miss timing. But let's see here. You can target one Traptrix monster in your grave, special summon it in defense. When this card is special summon, again timing, you can target one whole normal trap in your grave, set that card but banish it during the end phase. of your next turn if it's still on the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So obviously this with Diania, it acts as a Monster Reborn, and it lets you set normal traps to your field from your graveyard. Excuse me, which is not too bad, but you want to try and activate it. You want to try and have 8 tracks on board. To activate it. Or actually, hold on. What's the one that could let you... I don't remember which one. There was one of the Traptrix cards would say they can activate set cards to turn their set. I don't remember which one, but with Diania, it acts as a Monster Reborn / graveyard spell trap Rhoda, which is really nice. Myrmelio is basically spell trap Rhoda before the deck. So Myrmelio lets you add a whole normal trap from your deck to your hand, and if it were to be special summon, you get to basically MST one of your opponent's back row right off the bat, which is really nice, which is pretty cool. Mantis, on the other hand, says that when she's normal summon, you can add a Traptrix monster from your deck to your hand, which is basically your Stratos for the whole deck, which is pretty cool, and it also has a quick effect which reads once per turn you can target a set spell trap you control, return that target to the hand, then you can set a spell trap from your hand. So in a scenario where you were to special summon, Diania after you have normal summoned, Mantis, you can then activate Diania's effect, set I'll say Bottomless Trap Hole from your graveyard to your field, activate Mantis' effect, target said Bottomless Trap Hole, bounce it back to the hand, and then reset it, so that way even if it were to be your end phase, Diania won't be able to banish the Bottomless Trap Hole, which is really cool, which is a nice little party trick. Vesiculo reads you can only use one of the following effects once per turn, and only once that turn, meaning hard once per turn. You can send one set trap you control to the grave, special summon this card from your hand. If you control no cards in your back row, you can banish this card from your grave, then target a whole normal trap in your grave, send it to your field. So it basically just gives you access to even more back row for your opponent to deal with. And then Nepenthes is probably one of the more better ones, because it reads, you can tribute this card, set 2 whole normal traps with different names, one from your deck and one from your graveyard, but banish them when they leave the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So obviously, again, Mantis will give you access to bounce one of them to your hand and then reset it, so that way the banishing effect does not trigger. Now, Alamaris is the Xyz monster, which requires 2 or more 4-star monsters, and it reads that this card is not affected by traps while it has Xyz material. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can detach 2 materials from this card, special summon a level 4 insect or plant monster from your grave, which is a Monster Reborn, which is pretty cool. If an opponent's monster leaves the field because of your card effect and is now in the graveyard or banished except during the damage step, you can detach a material from this card, target one of them, and special summon to your field. So it basically acts as a double Monster Reborn, which is really good. The only downside, the only downside is that because of the fact that we have cards such as Imperm and Fiendish Chain, and even also cards such as Ghost Ogre, Ash Blossom, Effect Veiler, Ghost Bell, cards like those are going to be a massive, are going to be extremely difficult for the Traptrix archetype to deal with, and I think that's why Call By is now limited to 1. I think that might be the reason. But we now move on to Rafflesia, which has the same first effect, but its other effects is where it really gets interesting. Traptrix monsters you control except this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So this is basically your Dragon Lords for the whole deck, which is pretty cool. Your opponent cannot target Traptrix monsters you control except this card with card effects. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can detach a material from this card, send one whole normal trap card that meets its activation conditions from your deck to the grave. This effect becomes that trap card's effect when that card is activated. So it basically lets you activate whole normal trap cards without even having them set. So bottomless trap holes is going to be a real pain in the, will be a real pain in the ass. And even also, I want to see about something. Yeah, so cards such as Void Trap Hole, Time Space Trap Hole, DD Trap Hole, Chain Hole. That's what she said. Deep Dark Trap Hole, Bottomless Traptrix, Gravedigger's Trap Hole, Acid Trap Hole, which I believe that was a DDS promo from the second wave, if I remember correctly. Yeah. White Hole, Double Trap Hole, oh wow, I didn't realize that there were 3 different versions. There was the original printing of it, then the Lost Art promo, and then of course the one from Link Evolution. That's actually kind of hilarious. Breakout Trap Hole, Tachyon Chaos Hole. If you were running a photon Traptrix build, then yeah, Tachyon Chaos Hole will be another one. Adhesion Trap Hole, Gemini Trap Hole if you were going the Gemini strat, Floodgate Trap Hole Spikes, Giant Trap Hole, Network Trap Hole if you were going with the Cybers build, and then Treacherous Trap Hole. So those are the cards that you can trigger against your opponent, which is really nice. Then of course we have Traptrix Calaria, which I believe is one of the newer ones that I had talked about. But if you guys have, just in case if I didn't talk about this card, it's an Earth attribute, Link 2. It's a Earth attribute plant Link 2 with 1800 attack, and it requires 2 insect and or plant monsters. And it reads, this Link summon card is unaffected by trap effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. After you activate a whole normal trap card, you can set it instead of sending it to your graveyard. During your end phase, you can target one Traptrix monster in your grave, special summon it in defense. So it basically acts as a Monster Reborn. And if you pair Calaria off, pair it off with the Rafflesia, basically you get to have an infinite amount of trap hole cards set to your field, which just is absolutely insane. Now Sarah is kind of an odd one. It's an odd one. So it reads you can only use each of the following effects once per turn, and not and not during the damage step. If a normal trap card is activated, you can special summon a Traptrix monster from your deck with a different name than the cards you control. If your other Traptrix monster's effect is activated, you can set a normal trap directly from the deck. So with the Traptrix archetype, it basically gives you access to set up your board without even having to set up your board, which is really nice. But the question is, do we need it? Do we need a Traptrix structure deck? So we know that it'll be released in the OCG on December 3rd. So sometime in the next couple of weeks or so, maybe in the next month, I will be talking about the new cards that are going to be in the set. But I'm here to just give my thoughts on this and whether or not we need a structure again. Honestly, as hard as it is for me to say it, because Traptrix was never meta during hat format, which I believe was which I believe the term. Let's see. I want to look it up. I believe that the term hat was a combination of the hand monsters, fire hand, ice hand, and I think hand and trap. So if you guys don't know anything about hat format came around during the release of Primal Origin, which was released on May 16, 2014, and Duels Alliance on August 15th, 2014. So May, June, July. So for about 3-4 months, it was around, and I believe hat stood for hand and trap, if I am right on this. If I'm right on that, I believe so. So with hat format, it was a mixture of hand artifact trap was the phrase, was the term. So you were running artifacts, Traptrix, and the hand monsters. So fire hand, ice hand, Traptrix, Myrmelio, Atrax, Diania, and then artifacts, and then some of the artifacts such as Moral Attack, and Atrax were, and also I think Scythe as well. There were some decks that were running Scythe, Scythe as well, but truth be told, throughout that whole era, throughout the whole format, as far as YCS Philly, during that time, there were a variety of decks that were being played during this time. You had mostly gear. It was mostly Geargias and Hacked, but some of the other decks that were in the format, you had Insector, Mermail, Infernity, Mythic Rulers, which did run the Dragon Rulers, but Dragon Rulers, we all know, just kind of dying down once we got into Duels Alliance. Because once we got into Duels Alliance, I believe all the Dragon Rulers and the Baby Rulers all got banned, and the only card that got taken off the list within the last couple of years was obviously Tempest. Bouges, Evil Swarm, Morolche, Artifact Traptrix, and Hand Traptrix. And then, of course, as I said, the hat deck as well. So, yeah, so that was basically what it stood for. It stood for Hand Artifact Traptrix which was one of the most broken decks not one of the most broken decks, but one of the more uniquely built decks in that format. But the question is, do we need a structure deck? Honestly, I think it's more of a, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's, you know, it's a lesser of two evils. On one side, on one side, yeah, we kind of do need the new support, the new support, because one of the cards. Mantis, the effect reads, the last effect reads, you can target one set spell or trap you control, return that target to the hand, then set a spell or trap. So I'm assuming that this was a prelude to potentially us getting spells for the whole archetype. So it's a possibility that we could get some spells, but for the most part. But again, that's the pro of the whole thing, is getting spells that help ensure that we're able to build, you know, we're able to make our board with a good amount of negates with a few disruptions in hand. But if you look at the con of the whole thing, we're most likely just gonna get a shit ton of whole trap cards that we don't even need. So, do we need the structure deck? No, honestly, we don't. Because for one, Traptrix was never meta until we got into hat format in May of 2014. Once we got into Duelist Alliance in August of 2014, that was when hat format had reached its peak, and some of the cards that were in the deck ended up getting banned. But I think Simo in his series, in his history of Yu-Gi-Oh series, I think he'll be talking. He and MBT will be talking about that possibly today. At the time that I'm doing this video, which is the same day I'm posting it, which is actually Friday the 26th. So he and Joseph will probably go a little more in depth with that one. So you guys should definitely check that out. Big shoutouts to both Simo and MBT. Big fans of them. Shoutouts to them. But again, do we need it? No, we don't need the structure deck. Traptrix, once we got to peak hat format, right around you know, Duelist Alliance and new challengers, once we got to that point, Traptrix was just done. It was just done, and it never became meta until like, what was it, like 2015, I want to say, like somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, honestly, I don't think we need it, because in today's meta there are so many outs to the Traptrix deck. There's no way you'll be able to build your board. You know, you're essentially just gonna scoop right quick. So no, I'm saying now, we do not need the Traptrix structure deck, but obviously we are going to be getting it, unfortunately. But to be fair, the only way the Traptrix deck will ever be meta, as in like tier 0 meta, is if we got spell cards. If we got spell cards, you know, such as a quick play spell that lets you set traps from your deck or something like that, or perhaps a field spell that lets you activate whole normal traps from your hand. Then you know what? Yeah, maybe the deck will be meta. I think that will probably be the only way Traptrix will be meta, is if we got a couple of field spells for them that basically let you activate traps from your hand. Kind of like a Machiora the Destructor, but on steroids. But that brings me to the question of the day: what kind of cards do you guys want to see in the Traptrix structured deck? Let me know down in the comments below. And that will do it for this episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. Excuse me. And if you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes, which get posted every Friday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on all of my social media. Links will be in the description below. And as always, if you guys want to send fan mail, the info will be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.